How to invest in real estate out of state. With the right processes and people in place, you'll hear a lot of people talk about don't invest out of state, it's a headache. You follow these processes and the people to put in place that we're gonna go over in this episode, you'll be starting to invest in real estate out of state as quick as tomorrow. So this is something I'm very familiar with. I've had to create a network and system and have key people in place and checks and balances in those places as well to make sure that everything kept moving forward. Because you don't have the luxury of driving over to find out what's going on with your property and if it's on or off track. So you have to make sure you have these checks and balances. We're gonna get into it right now. So why invest out of state? A lot of people ask. Here's the key reason. Depending on where you live, your dollar could stretch much further in other areas. You have to make sure that you do the research in these areas. For myself, when I first got started investing out of state, I did market research on each area. Then determined the highest upside potential, what I could buy stuff for the cheapest, and they had to look at different things such as taxes, what's the demand, how cheap could I get this, and what are my returns? These are things that you have to take into consideration when looking at investing out of state. What's your comfort level and how far out of state? How long is my flight? Am I flying a red eye across the country, or can I just catch a flight and get there in a few hours? These are things to consider. Also, is there a limited rental market? Because if there is, you may want to look at an area that has more upside potential to where you could actually grow and scale a much bigger business, right? We're doing this big time, not for practice. So anyways, let's go into a couple other key things. So in each area that you're researching, what's the cheapest price or property you could get and get the maximum rents for, right? Also, if you could only buy a house a year, maybe you want to reevaluate that process too. You could sometimes look at, some areas have where they do auction off blocks of houses, and you could pick up for their behind taxes. I've had friends most recently talk to me about they bought a block of 20 houses for $40,000. That's $2,000 roughly a door is what they're paying for it, but they're getting several houses. Sometimes people don't actually get caught back up on the taxes, and without getting into all that, it's a totally different episode, but these are some ways that you could acquire a bucket of, or a nice quantity of houses in one quick swoop. But in doing so, with those, even if you get them, what do you have to have in place? System and peoples and processes. This is key in anything that you do out of state. So not just price points, but now once we get them and we've identified what cities are best and for what price point and the highest returns, now we got to look at the processes. So this is what I personally did. What I did is I went and started running ads and networking prior to me getting into town. So what I did is I networked with realtors, brokers, different contractors, and what I would do is I met them all at a hotel, had everything lined up for 2 days where I went through and interviewed different people for different positions, including, yes, a property manager that could go out and put his or her eyes on the property and validate everything that I'm saying. I don't necessarily need everybody to mesh well. I need checks and balances. I need the property management company or property manager to be able to check on the general contractor to make sure they're doing their job. But maybe when you first get started, you can't afford that property manager, so maybe you turn your realtor into that property manager. Kind of food for thought. I'm talking about going out and visiting. Then I want to go out with the realtor that I determine who is the best realtor. And when I'm determining that, I'm actually talking to brokers. I'm finding out who is selling the most amount of properties, who's the hardest working, who's going to be able to help me grow my business. So, and then when I meet them, do we mesh well or not? Because if we don't, probably not going to be a good relationship. So in my case, I meshed well with this gentleman. We still do business today. And this was over 12 years ago now. We still do business to this day. So what I did is I ran ads, I networked, I found out prior to getting there who was the best in their business. I had interviewed them prior to for a second interview at the hotel. Once I had that interview and I made it through everybody, then I determined down even more of who I wanted to work with. And maybe I actually picked 2 teams that I wanted to work with, 2 realtors, 2 contractors, and I bought 2 different properties. And I wanted to see how easily the process was or was not. So it's kind of some of the things you get to split test them and see who's actually good and who's not. You got to put them to action and see if they're actually worth their salt. So if you're liking this content, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. Keep following our content, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so we can continue to bring you content just like this. So back to your network and your processes. So we have our GC, our general contractor, and we have our realtor. You are also going to want to network with wholesalers. Wholesalers, you're going to want to talk to probably a real estate attorney out in that area, along with a title company or escrow company. This is basically the key group that you want to put together for when you're investing out of state. So all these different people are key to your success. All right, so you got people out there looking, multiple wholesalers out there looking. You have a couple realtors, a couple general contractors, and maybe some specialty trades people as well. So as they're running these crews, let's say you've acquired the properties, you found out what's renting, you got these areas down, and you got a couple properties going. You want to be able to give them accountability. You could use a software like Asana that actually helps deploy and track progress. You could simply do like, I ask for daily updates. When did you get there? What was finished? You make sure you get bids. Do not do hourly. Do not do hourly when you're investing out of state. You cannot keep enough eyes on the property. And I have done it, and it's never worked out for me long term. So I recommend you not do it either. Have them bid the job. It's the best way for you, and it holds everybody accountable. So do not do hourly. You want to be able to track progress. You want progress reports. I'm going to give you an example. If you take a hard money loan out and you have hard money for those improvements that you do for the property, to get additional money, you have to send photos of what's been done. So for example, when you're investing out of state, you want to do something similar. You have them set a budget and what it includes, and don't be the sucker that gets the, oh, it didn't include this. So have that general contractor put in what it excludes as well. So if it's not in the excluded, then it's in the included, right? Yeah. Oftentimes general contractors will say, oh, well, that wasn't included. Well, make sure it shows in the excluded, right? We want to also incentivize them, just like what we've talked about in other episodes. If they finish late, then they should be penalized. But if they finish early, there should be an incentive for them financially as well. So make sure that you have those same incentives so they're hurrying, getting through that property so you can get the next one lined up and get that rental out on the market as well. Again, getting daily updates, weekly updates, what's been done, are they on track? If you're not getting accurate photos, or what I would do before I would even give another draw, I would make sure either my realtor understood where they said they were at and what was done, or my property manager or agent, whatever it is, walk through as a second set of eyes to verify that the things that were said to be done are done. The nice thing now is we have these cell phones, and you could do FaceTime or video, and they could walk you through what's been done. Because sometimes in the past, if they just send a photo, maybe that wall has all the outlets or something like that, and they're charging you for electrical, but none of the other walls are done. You want to be careful. You want to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of. Trust me, I've seen it happen a lot. Sometimes the nice person, too nice, that get taken advantage of. And as long as you have these things explained up front, then there's no issue. They understand the expectations of what you want and what you expect. And once that's done, it's all set in motion. They already agreed to it. So again, daily, weekly updates along with receipts as well. You want to see what they're spending. You want to have those photos. You want to make sure that it's on track. You want to make sure that what they've put in their contract, they're delivering as well. If you're thinking about investing out of state and you're not quite sure and you want to talk to somebody or an expert to help you, we could help determine that. Click on the link below. Schedule a one-on-one with one of myself or team members, and we'll help you determine if that's the right fit for you.